The turkey sat golden and perfect at the center of the table, steam still rising from where Dad had just finished carving. 23 people crowded around the extended dining table at my parents' house, the whole family, plus the new spouses, the grandchildren, the cousins who'd driven in from 3 states away. Thanksgiving, the holiday where we all pretended nothing had changed since childhood. Jennifer, could you pass the stuffing? My older sister Melissa asked from her position at Mom's right hand, the seat of honor, as always. I handed her the dish. She took it without looking at me, already turning to her husband Brad to continue whatever story she'd been telling about their recent trip to the Maldives. The resort was absolutely divine, she said, her voice carrying that particular tone that ensured everyone at the table was listening. Private villas, personal butler service, infinity pools overlooking the ocean. Brad surprised me for our anniversary. How wonderful, Aunt Caroline said dutifully. Well, when you work as hard as we do, you deserve these moments, Melissa continued. Brad's been putting in 80-hour weeks at the firm, making partner by 40. That's the kind of dedication that creates success. I took a bite of green beans, said nothing. Of course, not everyone understands that work ethic, Melissa added, her eyes finally sliding toward me. Some people just coast along, hoping things will work out. My younger cousin Emma shifted uncomfortably beside me. She knew what was coming. We all did. Melissa, Mom said quietly, a warning. What? I'm just making conversation. Melissa smiled, bright and sharp. Jennifer's been doing well lately, haven't you, Jen? That little tech thing finally took off? It's doing fine, I said. Fine, that's so modest. She turned to the table, gathering her audience. Jennifer's company went public last year, made quite a splash. Though between you and me, she lowered her voice conspiratorially, I think the timing was just incredibly lucky. Right market conditions, right investor interest, right moment in the tech cycle. Brad nodded along. The market's been favorable for tech IPOs. A rising tide lifts all boats. Exactly, Melissa said. I mean, Jennifer worked on her little app for what, 4 years? But plenty of people work hard and don't see results. The difference is luck, being in the right place at the right time. Uncle Robert cleared his throat. I think Jennifer's success is more than just. Oh, I'm not diminishing it, Melissa interrupted smoothly. I'm just being realistic. Success isn't skill when it comes to tech startups. It's timing, it's chance. It's knowing the right people who know the right investors who happen to have money to throw around. The table went completely quiet. Melissa sat back, satisfied, reaching for her wine glass. The very expensive Bordeaux she brought and made a point of announcing cost $400 a bottle. I set down my fork carefully, pulled out my phone. You're absolutely right, I said calmly. Melissa paused mid-sip. I am? You are. Success does require more than just skill. It requires timing, connections, and understanding systems. I opened my banking app, navigating to the automated payments section. It requires knowing who to know and how to leverage relationships properly. I found the accounts I was looking for. 7 of them, all set up 6 years ago, when Melissa had come to me, desperate and embarrassed, asking for help she'd never want the family to know about. What are you doing? Melissa asked, something uncertain creeping into her voice. Taking your advice about being realistic, I said. I selected the first account, Riverside Country Club, and canceled the automatic monthly payment of $3,200. My phone buzzed immediately. An alert from the club's billing system confirmed the payment method had been removed and the account would need alternative payment by the 30th. I moved to the second account. Oakmont Tennis Association, $1,800 monthly, canceled. Jennifer, Melissa said, her voice sharp now. What are you doing? Being realistic about timing and connections, I replied, canceling the third payment. Equestrian Center membership, $2,400 monthly. Melissa's phone chimed, then chimed again. She grabbed it from beside her plate and stared at the screen. I continued methodically. Symphony Orchestra Premium Box Seats, $1,500 monthly. Canceled. Private Yacht Club membership, $2,900 monthly. Canceled. Exclusive Spa and Wellness Center, $1,100 monthly. Canceled. Stop, Melissa whispered. Stop it right now. The last one was the big one, the Pinnacle Club, the most exclusive networking organization in the city, the one with the year-long waiting list and annual dues that exceeded most people's salaries. $106,000 per year, charged monthly at $8,833. I canceled it. Melissa's phone rang. She stared at it like it might bite her. That's probably the pinnacle, I said conversationally. Their system automatically flags any payment disruption for premium members. They'll want to verify your new payment method before they revoke your access. You can't do this, Melissa said, her face pale. Actually, I can. Those memberships aren't in your name, Melissa. They're in mine. You're listed as an authorized user on my accounts because 6 years ago, you came to me privately and explained that Brad's student loans and your lifestyle expenses meant you couldn't afford the memberships your social circle expected you to have. The table had gone absolutely silent. Even the kids at the children's table had stopped talking. You asked me not to tell anyone, I continued. You said it would be humiliating if the family knew. So I set up automatic payments through shell accounts that made it look like the charges were coming from your own credit cards. I've been paying $106,700 annually for your memberships for 6 years. That's $640,200 total. Mom's hand had gone to her mouth. Plus the emergency loans, I added, pulling up another app. The $35,000 when Brad's car lease company threatened repossession. The $18,000 when your credit cards maxed out before the charity gala season. The $12,000 for Emma's private school tuition that you told everyone you were paying. Dad stood up slowly. Is this true? Melissa's phone rang again. She let it go to voicemail. The Maldives trip she just described? I said. I paid for that too. The resort charged $28,000 for the week. Melissa asked me to cover it as an anniversary gift that she could present to Brad without him knowing it came from me. Jennifer, please, Melissa said, and for the first time in years, I heard actual fear in her voice. You're embarrassing me. I'm being realistic, I countered. You said success isn't skill. It's timing and connections. You should know. You've been using your connection to me to fund a lifestyle you can't afford while telling everyone your success is earned. Brad had gone very quiet, very still. Melissa, what is she talking about? The memberships, the trips, the designer clothes you post on social media, all of it runs through accounts I established and fund, I said. I've been your younger sister's silent investor in the project of making herself look successful. Melissa's phone rang a third time, a different ringtone. She glanced at it, and her face went even paler. That's Riverside. They're calling about the November payment. Which is now your responsibility, I said. Along with all the others. I've sent you an email with a complete accounting of every payment I've made on your behalf for the last 6 years. You'll need to establish your own payment methods by the end of the month, or the memberships will be terminated. I can't afford, Melissa started, then stopped, realizing what she was admitting in front of everyone. Can't afford what? Dad asked quietly. Melissa, you and Brad both work. You told us you were making $180,000 a year at the marketing firm. She is, I said. And Brad makes $165,000 as a senior associate. That's $345,000 in household income. But they also have $340,000 in student loan debt, a $4,800 monthly mortgage on a house they bought to impress Brad's partners, 2 leased luxury cars at $2,200 monthly combined, and a spending pattern that consistently exceeds their income by $5,000 to $7,000 per month. I'd done the analysis 2 years ago, when Melissa's requests for loans had started coming every 6 to 8 weeks. I even hired a financial analyst to review everything and tell me exactly where the money was going. How do you know all this? Brad demanded. Because every time Melissa asked for money, I required documentation, bank statements, credit card bills, loan agreements. I wanted to understand the full picture before I kept enabling it. I looked at my sister. I've given you over $750,000 in the last 6 years, Melissa, and in exchange, you've told everyone I'm just lucky. Aunt Caroline broke the silence. $750,000? $743,200, I confirmed. I have spreadsheets. The memberships total $640,200. The emergency loans add another $103,000. None of it has been repaid because Melissa always promised she'd pay me back when things stabilized. But things never stabilized, because she kept spending money she didn't have. Melissa stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the hardwood. You're really going to do this? Here? At Thanksgiving? In front of everyone? You did it first? I said calmly. You sat here and told everyone my success was luck, that I didn't earn it, that I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. You did that while wearing a dress I paid for, drinking wine I paid for, planning to go home to a club membership I paid for. That's different. How? How is it different? I stood too, meeting her eyes across the table. You've been presenting a life funded by my luck while dismissing my actual work. My company didn't succeed because of timing. It succeeded because I spent 4 years coding 18-hour days, because I pitched to 73 investors before one said yes, because I hired the right team and built something that solved a real problem. My phone buzzed again, an email from Oakmont Tennis Association confirming my payment method had been removed and requesting that Ms. Melissa Grant provide her own billing information within 72 hours. Your phone's going to keep ringing, I told Melissa. All the clubs will reach out within the next hour. They'll all want payment verification. You'll need to give them actual credit cards that actually work and actually have enough credit available to cover the charges. I don't have that kind of credit available, Melissa said, the admission coming out as barely a whisper. Then you'll need to cancel the memberships, I said. Call them, explain you can no longer afford them, and terminate your access. It's what everyone else does when they can't pay for something. But I've built my entire network through those clubs, she said desperately. My clients, my connections, my reputation. Your reputation built on my money, I finished. A reputation you just used to diminish my accomplishments in front of our entire family. Dad had sat back down, looking suddenly older. Why didn't you tell us? Because Melissa asked me not to. Because she said it would humiliate her if the family knew she was struggling. Because I thought. I stopped, surprised by the emotion catching in my throat. I thought if I helped her quietly, she'd eventually see me as something other than the lucky little sister who didn't deserve her success. Mom was crying silently. But instead, I continued, she used the money I gave her to elevate herself while pushing me down. Every family gathering, every holiday, every celebration, there was always a comment about my luck, my timing, my fortunate circumstances. Never about my work. Never about my skill. Always just luck. Melissa's phone rang again, the Pinnacle Club this time, according to her screen. You should answer that, I said. They're very particular about payment disruptions. If you don't establish a new payment method within 24 hours, they'll terminate your membership and you'll go back on the waiting list. Current wait time is 18 months. She didn't answer, just stood there, phone ringing in her hand. Brad pushed back from the table. I need to speak with my wife. Privately. They disappeared into Dad's study. We could hear them arguing through the closed door, Brad's voice raised in disbelief, Melissa's defensive and tearful. Uncle Robert finally broke the silence at the table. Did your company really go public last year? Yes, I said, sitting back down. What was the valuation? $2.3 billion. He let out a low whistle, and Melissa called that luck. She did, just now, in front of everyone. I took a sip of water. For what it's worth, I didn't plan this. I've been paying those memberships for years without complaint. But there's something about being called lucky by the person whose lifestyle you've been funding that just clarifies things. Cousin Emma leaned toward me. So you're actually a billionaire? On paper. Most of it's tied up in company stock. I can't exactly spend it all. But you spent $750,000 on Melissa. I did, because she's my sister, and she asked for help, and I wanted to believe she'd appreciate it eventually. I looked toward Dad's study, where the argument was still ongoing. I was wrong. The study door opened. Melissa emerged first, eyes red, makeup smudged. Brad followed, his jaw tight. We're leaving, Melissa announced to no one in particular. Melissa, Mom started. No, I'm not staying here to be humiliated further. She grabbed her purse, that expensive designer bag I'd bought her for her birthday. Jennifer's made her point. She's powerful and successful, and I'm just a fraud who needed her help. Message received. That's not what I said, I replied. It's what you meant. She stopped at the doorway, turned back to me. You want to know why I called your success luck? Because it is luck, Jennifer. You got lucky with timing, lucky with investors, lucky with everything. And you get to be generous and magnanimous because things worked out for you. But the rest of us, we're just trying to survive in a world that expects us to look successful before we've actually made it. So you lied, I said simply, to everyone, including your husband. Brad's face confirmed he hadn't known the extent of it. I maintained appearances, Melissa corrected. That's what successful people do. They project confidence and success until it becomes real. You'd understand that if you'd ever had to actually struggle for anything. She left before I could respond. Brad lingered for a moment, looking like he wanted to say something, then followed her out. We heard their car start, heard the tires crunch on the gravel driveway. The table sat in uncomfortable silence. Well, Aunt Caroline finally said, "This is certainly a Thanksgiving to remember." A few people laughed nervously. Mom excused herself to the kitchen. Dad just stared at his plate. My phone buzzed. A text from Melissa. "I hope you're happy. You've destroyed my life." Then another. "Everyone will know I'm a fraud now. My marriage is over. My career is over. All because you couldn't keep your mouth shut." I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled up the financial reports my CFO had sent that morning. The Q3 earnings had exceeded projections. We were on track for another strong year. The product roadmap looked solid. The team was happy. I built something real, something sustainable, something that didn't require pretending or projecting or maintaining appearances. And I'd done it while writing checks to support my sister's illusion of success. Dad cleared his throat. "For what it's worth, Jennifer, I'm proud of what you've accomplished. Your mother and I both are. We didn't know how to talk about it. You were always so private about your work." I was private because every time I tried to share something, Melissa would dismiss it, I said. It was easier to just keep quiet. "That's on us," he said. "We should have seen what was happening, should have stopped it." My phone buzzed again, the Pinnacle Club's automated system, informing me that the authorized user Melissa Grant's access had been suspended pending payment verification. Then Riverside Country Club with a similar message. Then Oakmont Tennis. Within 20 minutes, all 7 memberships had been suspended. All 7 clubs had sent notifications. Melissa's carefully constructed social network was evaporating in real time. My phone rang. Melissa. I let it go to voicemail. She called again, 5 times while we finished dinner in uncomfortable, sporadic conversation. Finally, I answered. "What?" I said. "Please," she said. "Please, Jennifer, I'm begging you. Turn the payments back on, just for 3 months. Give me time to figure something out." Figure what out? How to keep lying to everyone. How to transition. How to explain this to Brad without losing my marriage. How to step back from these commitments without destroying my professional reputation. I closed my eyes, feeling the exhaustion of 6 years of enabling, of covering, of pretending I didn't notice how Melissa treated me. "No," I said quietly. "Jennifer, you called my success luck, Melissa, at Thanksgiving, in front of our entire family. You did it knowing I've been paying for your lifestyle. You did it knowing I've given you $743,200 over 6 years. You did it anyway. I was wrong. You weren't wrong. You were calculated. You've been diminishing me for years because it made you feel better about needing my help. Well, you don't need my help anymore. You're free. Free to lose everything. Free to build something real," I corrected. "Free to stop pretending. Free to live within your actual means and be honest about your actual life." Silence on the line. "I can't do this alone," she finally whispered. "Yes, you can. You're smart and capable and actually good at your job. You just got caught up in performing success instead of building it." I paused. "Call the clubs. Cancel the memberships. Tell Brad the truth. Figure out a budget you can actually afford. Live your real life, Melissa. It's better than the fake one." I hung up before she could argue. The rest of Thanksgiving passed quietly. People left early. Mom hugged me extra long at the door, whispering that she was sorry she hadn't seen what was happening. I drove home to my actual apartment, not the penthouse Melissa had told people I lived in, just a nice 2-bedroom in a good neighborhood, and poured a glass of wine. My phone buzzed all evening. Messages from family members. Questions, support, criticism from a few who thought I'd been too harsh. Nothing else from Melissa. Monday morning, my assistant told me someone named Brad Grant had called requesting a meeting. "Melissa's husband?" I asked. "That's what he said. Wants to discuss a private financial matter." I almost said no, then reconsidered. Set it for Wednesday, 30 minutes. When Brad arrived, he looked tired, older than he had at Thanksgiving. "I didn't know," he said, sitting across from me in my office, "about any of it. The memberships, the loans, the money. She told me we were handling everything ourselves." "I know. We've been fighting for 4 days straight." She admitted everything. Every club, Every purchase, every lie. He rubbed his face. I don't even know who I married. You married someone who was scared, I said. Scared of not measuring up. Scared of being seen as less than. Scared of admitting she needed help. She took $750,000 from you. I gave it to her. There's a difference. He looked up at me. Why? Because she's my sister. Because she asked. Because I thought if I helped her enough, she'd eventually stop needing to tear me down to build herself up. I shrugged. I was wrong. What happens now? Now she learns to live within her means. So do you. You figure out which relationships were real and which were based on club memberships. You build something honest. And the money? Do you want it back? I considered. No, it's gone. But I won't give any more. That part is finished. He nodded slowly, stood to leave, then paused at the door. For what it's worth, I never thought your success was luck. I looked up your company after Thanksgiving. Read about the patents, the innovation, the growth. That's not luck. That's genius. After he left, I pulled up Melissa's contact and stared at it for a long moment. Then I typed a message. The money is gone. I won't ask for it back. But I also won't provide more. You're on your own now. I hope you build something real. She responded immediately. I'm sorry. Just that. 2 words. I typed back. I know. I didn't say I forgave her. Didn't say we go back to how things were. Because we wouldn't. The sister who called my success luck while spending my money was gone. Maybe someone more honest would take her place. Or maybe some relationships just run their course. Either way, I was done funding the performance. It was time for both of us to live our real lives.